So I've had the 2016 MacBook Pro for about 2 months now. So while this review might be a little bit late and dated, I can tell you I've definitely spent a lot of time with this machine, so my opinions are pretty thorough. And with that being said, this is my review of the 2016 MacBook Pro. So let me start off by saying this. I am both a heavy Macintosh and Windows operating system user, though I do lean a little bit more towards Macintosh OS simply because I spend most of my time in Bash. So I'm mentioning all this stuff to you simply because I want you to understand that my opinion is not biased. Let's go over the specs. So my MacBook, as configured, was sporting a 6th generation Skylake Intel Core i7 quad-core processor. Now this had a base clock of 2.9 GHz and a turbo boost clock of 3.8 GHz. 16 GB of DDR3L memory, 1 TB of Apple's 2nd generation NVMe SSD controller, and of course the 4 GB AMD Radeon Pro 460 GPU. Now this GPU specifically comes out of the Polaris architecture. So starting with the keyboard, because this is the first change that I actually noticed, well, the keyboard kinda sucks. It reminds me a lot of the 12-inch MacBook. The keys don't have a lot of travel and they're extremely noisy. So I have to admit, after a couple of weeks of using this machine, I did get used to the keyboard. However, if you do switch back and forth between the more conventional or the classic keyboard, you definitely are going to notice the faults of this keyboard. Having a look at the trackpad, one thing that I really like about it is the fact that it's large. This makes it very easy to use Apple's gesture controls. However, one thing that's bad about it being so large is the fact that you end up with your palms on it. Now, Apple's software palm rejection doesn't always work that well, so pretty often you'll find yourself without any input working, and that could lead to a bad experience. Next, having a look at the screen, Apple didn't make many changes here. The screen is a little bit brighter and the webcam seems to be the same grainy, poor low light performing webcam that we've seen in previous MacBooks. Taking a look at the overall design, Apple definitely did make it lighter and thinner. They've done some of this by removing some of the more traditional ports that we're used to, such as our HDMI, USB, or Thunderbolt 2 ports. Now, depending on which MacBook Pro model you pick up, you can have anywhere from 2 to 3 Thunderbolt 3 ports. My model in particular is a 15-inch model, so it comes with 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. Now, Thunderbolt 3 is capable of doing up to 40 gigabits per second. Now, that speed itself is very impressive, and it also doubles as a USB-C port to allow for some versatility. But when it comes to the Thunderbolt 3 port, I've had a number of issues when it comes to docking stations. I can't seem to find one that works. This is due to the fact that Apple disabled some of the older generation Texas Instruments chipset controllers for Thunderbolt 3. So now let's talk about the touch bar. So when I first saw this thing, I thought to myself, this is pretty cool, but I'll probably stop using it within a couple of weeks. And of course, once I got mine, it was pretty cool at first. It had some uses in some applications, but I did stop using it eventually. Every once in a while, there are a handful of applications that actually use the touch bar in some pretty useful manners. However, it's few and far between, and I don't really catch myself using it much. However, I do catch myself using the Touch ID sensor a lot, as it makes it really easy for me to log into my computer as well as authenticate for certain native applications. I do wish Apple offered a non-touch bar version of the 15-inch MacBook Pro. Way too often I find myself struggling to press the escape button or even struggling to raise the volume or lower the brightness on my screen. There are a number of other quirks that I have noticed when it comes to the new 2016 MacBook Pro as well. Most notably, the ability to boot off of a USB flash drive of either Windows or Linux operating system has been extremely difficult. Now, hopefully this can be resolved with a simple software fix. However, for now, it is putting a major wrench in a lot of my work. The removal of the MagSafe 2 adapter has also left me heartbroken, as I fear every day that my computer will end up on the floor due to a tugged-on USB-C cable. Now, referring back to the issue with the Thunderbolt 3 ports, I also have had to adapt to the dongle life. These are all of the adapters I have to continuously carry around with me to get any work done. This is really annoying. Now, not everything when it comes to the 2016 MacBook Pro is all bad. I ran a couple benchmarks against it and the late 2013 Mac Pro 12 core, and as you can see, it definitely does hold its own. Okay, so in conclusion, the 2016 MacBook Pro is a pretty good Macintosh laptop. It has a lot of pros and cons with a lot more cons than pros. But I think at the price tag, I mean, this thing cost me nearly $4 grand, it definitely shouldn't have that many compromises when it comes to anything, in all honesty. If you're a creative professional that's stuck in the Apple ecosystem, maybe you edit in Final Cut Pro similar to myself, or you just have a specific application that only works on Macintosh operating systems, then I definitely think it's something you can consider. However, I personally would probably look at the 2015 model, or maybe wait for the second generation of this very same laptop to come out. I've heard they're just coming around the corner with Kaby Lake processors, 32 gigabytes of memory, and hopefully they've worked out with the quirks. With that being said, if you're not in the Apple ecosystem, you definitely can look at plenty of other manufacturers out there who make great laptops, would have similar specifications, and probably cost anywhere from $1,500 to even up to $2,000 less than this. For an Apple laptop, it's a great buy because, you know, everybody knows when you are dealing with Apple, you're going to pay the Apple tax. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, do me a favor, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Once again, my name is Fran. Thanks so much for checking out this video, and hopefully I see you guys in the next one.